I assume by this point in time, most of you guys watching this have already watched BADHAAI, but we'll do a non-spoiler section, a small one, just in case you haven't, and you're wondering whether or not you should watch it based on our opinion. You're just holding out whether or not to spend those rupees, or those dollars, or those euros on the ticket. Here you go. So I think that this film is definitely worthwhile. Normally with comedies, the fear is, did they show all the best parts in the trailer? I will say that they showed a lot of good parts in the trailer, and the trailer is almost like a short film. And then the film that you watch in the theater is like the extended edition. You get more scenes and more jokes, and they're all about as funny as what you see in the trailer.
Yeah.
There's more story, there's another arc that happens in the film that is not really explored in the trailer. So I'd say the trailer really gives you a strong sense as to the plot, as to the conflicts, and it even gives you some really good jokes. And then the film itself, when you get there, it's an expanded version of that with just more of what you saw in the trailer. It's like it actually delivers on its promise almost too accurately, if that makes any kind of sense. What I'm trying to say in a roundabout kind of way is the trailer gave away too much, but it's okay. So yeah, go watch it if you haven't already. It's funny, it's thought-provoking.
Yes.
And I like it. It was a good film.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a rating, I would give this a 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5, I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere around there,
Somewhere
4.5.
blah, ballpark-ish, cricket park-ish. Over here we say ballpark. That means like general vicinity. So I guess for Indian audiences, I'll say cricket park. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know, forget it. So that was a good joke gone wrong. Anyway, now we're gonna proceed into our spoiler section. If you guys haven't watched it yet, watch it and come back to this part of the video. I think that we are at an immediate disadvantage when it comes to comedy for India.
Yes.
Which is we don't have all the cultural nuances.
Yeah.
Which is okay. There are still things that we found funny. But I think the thing that struck us more was just the story itself.
Yes.
I think that what it was trying to say, it did effectively, and it also tried to very, very lightly explore the discussion of homosexuality and acceptance of that,
Yeah.
or the lack thereof. And I thought that it was interestingly handled. Like, it didn't really say it. It was one of those things that was said without expressly saying it.
Right, yeah, they just sort of touched upon it. But I think, like, the more important things were definitely, like, family dynamics,
Right.
class,
All that
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually, now that you said class, I realized, like, there are so many things that this film explores but doesn't like go too deep on. And normally that would bother me, but in this particular instance, I felt like it was kind of like lightly touching this, lightly touching that, going, hey, look at this, hey, look at that. Look how we judge here, look how we don't accept this.
Yeah.
And it's this collection of ideas that we typically don't accept. And that's what basically the movie is saying in a roundabout kind of way, while telling you a fun and interesting story.
Was it in Lust Stories where they were kind of talking about how, oh, I only had sex with my husband that one time to make a baby, and then I don't have sex anymore? I feel like maybe sex in general is a very taboo subject in Indian culture, and then to add on top of that, it's like older people having sex, because they certainly shouldn't be.
Right.
Oh no.
Right. I like the conversations they were having.
Yeah.
In the States, you just don't like to think about it as if you're a dude. It seems like women are more accepting in general, like the film portrayed. And I mean, that seems like a gender stereotype, but it's actually very true in my experience, where guys don't want to think about their parents having sex. They just don't. But like women are generally more cool with it. Like, you know, that's natural. What are you fretting about?
Exactly.
Just like one day that'll be you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I straight up had that conversation with my mom one time.
Yeah.
I was like, so are you and dad still, you know, what's going on there?
Doing the sideways polka?
Because I hope you are. Genuinely, I think this is a really great subject that they're bringing up, because in media, sex is portrayed as something that young people do, you know, romance is for young people. But what about when you're older? Because like his girlfriend says in the movie, like, when we get older, would you still want us to be in love and still feel that way towards each other? I think it's beautiful. I think it's great that this is something that they're exploring so strongly in this movie.
I think that the cast was great. They had a very, very strong cast of actors here who delivered great performances throughout the film. They sold it. They made it believable. Most especially the main actor, Ayushmann Khuranna.
Yeah, he was in Underdone.
Right. I think he's a great actor. I think he did a great job of being this dude who's struggling with this thing. And the arc that he's supposed to have is predictable from the trailer. But I still enjoyed going on the adventure with him, of seeing him come to terms with this thing and accept it. And I actually really liked that moment where he says it all and has that moment of turning when he turns against his girlfriend's mom.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Are you done?" And he goes, "Yes. But if I have more to say, I'll write you in an email." I thought that was a great follow-up response. So much so that I immediately adopted it. I'm like, that's clever. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Because there have been an argument or two for me where a person has said to me, "Are you done?" And now I'm going to say, "Yes, but if I have more to say, I'll email you." I thought that was clever.
My favorite actors in this movie were the older generation.
Yes, of course.
Particularly Knuckles' grandmother. I freaking loved her. I just thought she was so believable. She reminded me of my own grandmother with like how almost harsh she was, but underneath that harsh exterior, she had a lot of love. And my favorite scene of hers was when she did that amazing monologue chastising the two aunties and like, stop judging them. I was like, yes.
Well, I was immediately partial to Gajraj Rao.
Yeah, he was great.
I mean,
as
we've
well.
seen him so many times, not just in this, but stuff that is on the webs.
Yeah.
And I just think he's a really good actor. He's very subtle. He plays it, he downplays it very well, or understates it, I mean. He's just got a very likable presence about him.
Yeah.
Immediately when you see him, you're just like, oh, he seems like a nice fella. You don't mind watching him just behave on screen.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. That's the term I used that was taught to me in acting classes, is just behaving.
Exactly.
And so I really like what he does. He feels authentic as that person.
Yeah, he was just so sweet and like kind of bumbling and adorable. I thought that was just fantastic. And then Nina Gupta as Knuckles' mom, Priyam Vada, she was awesome as well. Like she was just going through so much and the shame and a lot of very nuanced acting overall, I thought. Yeah.
Sanya Malhotra, she did a great job as the girlfriend, and even though I thought that her part was a little bit truncated, it seemed like a weird flip-flop where Ayushmann Khuranna disrespects her mom. It felt almost one-dimensional. Like the one part of the movie that felt one-dimensional was like he disrespects her mom, even though it is technically layered, the reaction felt one-dimensional. Like, you disrespected my mom, you have to go apologize. It's like, did you just see what your mom said to him? You're not factoring that part in.
Yeah.
And then what happens is it goes into this cliche section of the film where they have their time apart, he misses her, she misses him, we see them moping.
Yeah.
And then eventually, he comes around, which is, that's coming, and that's it's part of every romantic comedy where there's a problem that shows up. They have to have their time apart and then they come back together after dude apologizes. That was the one part of the film that bugged me because it felt so cliche when the rest of the film itself is totally the antithesis of cliche. Just the story that we're exploring. But I guess you need that to kind of ground it in something familiar. You need that young romantic couple in order to kind of guide people into this other story.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what that's about. But it was the one weak part. I don't know why I'm bunny earsing it. It was the one weak part for me because it was too familiar. Like, we've seen that so many times.
Yeah. But speaking about her, demanding an apology from him, I think that might also be because culturally, and I don't know if it's the same in India as it is in maybe Thailand or other Asian countries where family comes first.
Sure.
Like you absolutely cannot choose anyone else outside your family above family. That's just what it is.
I needed to see a scene where she argued with her mom, where she was like, she wasn't just defending her mom, but she was, I guess to what you're saying, she can't. I don't know. But for me, maybe it's an American thing, and maybe that's that's where my hang up is I'm lacking an understanding as to the culture.
Maybe.
But for me, it was like I needed to see her go to her mom and argue with her, like show me her mixed feelings.
Right.
Like I saw what he was dealing with and what was impeding him, like his ego was kind of in the way of his inability to apologize. I wanted to see her kind of like maybe debate as to what to do as opposed to just being kind of background. At one point you see, it was a cool shot, mind you, but like you saw her in the background, Ayushmann Khuranna shows up and then he looks and then she's not there. It's one of those things where I think about what the actors were doing. Like, okay, show up, okay, run, hide, cool, we got it. But outside of that, like what they allowed her to do in the film, I liked. I thought that she was a very natural actress.
Yeah.
I guess let's talk about the comedy. Even though there were jokes that we did not get Like, I heard moments where people were laughing that we weren't necessarily laughing at. Most of the jokes I felt like we got. It was just unfortunate that a number of the ones that we understood we already saw in the trailer, which is fine. It was cool to see it again. I was just like, I was hoping for a lot more jokes that I could understand that were in the film.
Like you said, I feel like a lot of them were cultural, and maybe for people who live in India, grew up in India, like these characters are very relatable. Like, especially for me, the aunties, I was like, oh yeah, I know all those women.
Right.
The gossipy women, the ones who were judging and everything like that. Like, yeah, I get it.
The jokes that took place when Ayushmann Khuranna was with his friends, that was pretty easy to understand.
Yeah.
Like the one-upping business, I thought that was clever. And
Yeah.
like it kind of bookended the movie really effectively. Like you saw it at the beginning to introduce him, and then you saw it at the end. And what I liked about the way they set up the friends, which was very interesting, was it felt so familiar somehow.
Yeah.
Even though you barely saw these actors in the movie, when you saw them again, it didn't feel like characters that just showed up again, that just popped back into the movie. It felt like, oh, those are his friends. And it felt like they were kind of your friends too, that you would josh with sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, it didn't feel weird that they were only in the movie for maybe all of 5 minutes.
Well, I think it's because the relationship between all the actors and hence the characters was very natural. It was very real. It felt like they had spent a childhood knowing each other and that they'd been doing your mom jokes since, 5th grade.
Right. I mean, that has to be credited to either the good writing or the director or both.
Both, yeah.
So the director's Amit Ravindranath Sharma. The writers are Akshat Gildial, Jyoti Kapoor, and Shantanu Srivastava. But ultimately, the screenplay and dialogue was Akshat Gildial. I just noticed these posters, which are really cute. I didn't see that before. That's hilarious, especially that. One of the strange things is it almost reminds me of like an extended Friends episode.
Yeah.
Like Phoebe wasn't supposed to have a baby, but she had like 3, and then here, the older couple, has a baby when they, you shouldn't.
Well, like, that's the thing. This is what I really enjoyed about the movie is you feel all the things that they feel. You feel their sense of shame. You feel the embarrassment. You feel the judgment. And I really liked the journey that Ayushmann Khuranna's character goes through. Because in the beginning, he's the most reluctant. He's the most judgmental.
Yeah.
He's so distraught that he takes time off work and he disappears from his friends. Like, it's that bad. Meanwhile, I'm watching it and I'm kind of with his girlfriend and I'm like, dude, get over it. It's not that bad. Like, come on. Your parents had sex. Big whoop. I'm happy for them that they still have a sex life. That's fantastic. But then by the end, he's the one who's defending his family and standing up for them.
Yeah, I thought
that was lovely.
I think for me as an American, it's even more interesting because it's one of those things where I wouldn't care and most Americans wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Most Americans would actually probably be happy if their parents had another baby. Like, oh, another sibling, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You might be worried about your parents and what they have to deal with being older and having a kid, but most kids or most young adults, I think, would celebrate it. And so it was interesting for me to see that and just kind of accept right away, well, it doesn't matter what my natural inclination is. And what matters is what this guy is faced with. It's almost like a reminder of what we went through in improv class, where it's like, what if the character sees it as the end of the world, that's what's important.
Yeah.
Like, he sees it as his whole world is falling apart. He was supposed to be the one having a kid, not his parents.
Yeah.
And the ramifications therein that are kind of, that he's dealing with his girlfriend's mom, like his mom is basically saying, you need to break up with dude because that's gonna be your baby that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those conversations are valid. Like you said, I like his arc and where he goes mentally and how he eventually gets there. I think that I really wanted to hear Shiba Chadha, or who plays Sangeeta Sharma, the mom, the girlfriend's mom. I really wanted to hear her apologize. She never did.
She was really great as well. We didn't mention her. I really liked her too. She was awesome.
She was very believable as that
hoity-toity.
That woman
mother.
that just very much frustrated me because it felt, that's how real it felt. Like I know this actress from her other work, from TVF stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the first time where I didn't like her, but that wasn't a fault of bad acting. It was just good writing in the character. Like, I really don't like this character. She irritates me.
I like that they had the contrast between
like
the two families. So the one that's more middle class, they're very much about, this is our family, we stick together, we have the one car, and like, I'll stand by my family. And then the girl comes from, you know, a more progressive family and more modern, and they have a nice house, but her mom's divorced, and like, it's a very different type of situation.
Right.
Her mom seems more hoity-toity and like judgmental and, you know, you don't want to be a part of their family.
Right. That being said, I can also understand the perspective of that mom character.
Yeah.
Her saying what she's saying is actually objectively valid. It actually makes sense. It just makes me mad when I hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You got a good, it's good.
Yeah, she's coming from a place of love because she loves her daughter and wants to make sure that she's going to have a good life and be taken care of.
Just to kind of summarize this, like, I really enjoyed the film. I thought that for the most part, it felt genuine and authentic. The only part I didn't like, what I mentioned earlier, which is that kind of cliche moment towards the end of the film when Ayushmann Khuranna and Sanya Malhotra were spending time apart because they had their breakup. It's just like, I know where this is going, movie. Just cut to the chase. Like, I can see, do it in a different way. The rest of the story is so cool and different and something we haven't seen. Like, give me something different here, but it had to follow the cliche pattern there. Because they had to have a happy ending, which it was. It was a really nice,
lovely ending,
happy ending. And they all kind of
nice.
came together with the baby. The baby was cute.
So cute.
So I actually wondered if the baby was a CGI baby at one point.
Really?
I mean, because it looked real. I was like, okay, I guess it's a real baby. Like, it was one of the tiniest babies I'd ever seen on film. Because over here in the States, the baby has to be a certain age before you can use that baby in a thing.
Maybe
anyway.
It was a real newborn baby.
Maybe, like they just literally pulled it from a delivery room. That would be something, wouldn't it? But yeah, overall I really liked it. And so now hopefully you guys have a more well-rounded understanding as to why I would give this like 4.25 stars. Jaby heads.
Jaby heads.
4.5 Jaby heads. It's a fluctuating thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's somewhere. It's a hologram rating, you see? Like, what angle you look at it from determines. I feel all the things. I feel 4, I feel 4.25, I feel 4.5. I feel all three of those for various reasons.
Yeah.
And it's just my inability to settle down on a specific score. I'm feeling indecisive. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to put a question to you guys. If after watching this movie, your opinion about having sex when you're older has changed. Like, do you think it's still something that's cringeworthy and shameful? Or are you like, yeah, it's just normal?
I don't think that anyone has ever felt that older people shouldn't be doing it.
According to this movie, everyone's all like, oh, you're still doing it? You know?
I think it was more so you just don't talk about it and it shouldn't be known. Like, it's very hush-hush. You just keep it on the down low. Yes, people are doing it still, hopefully, but you just don't talk about it. You don't let your kids know about it. No one knows. It's like Santa Claus.
It's like,
you just don't say that it's not real, and it stays real.
I know it explodes your brain, but like, think about it. How did you get there in the first place? Your parents had sex.
You don't need to know about that. No one wants to think about it, and no one wants to find videos on it either. Let me tell you, it's traumatizing. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Please check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.